Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 597, The Watchman's Honor, Words with a Silent GH, Intermediate. A story incorporating words which are pronounced with a silent GH. Arthur was the village watchman, a job he had held for 40 years. The last few weeks had been difficult. A long drought had made the fields dry and the mood of the villagers low. Each night he walked his rounds, the moon bright overhead. His most important duty was to guard the great clock tower, a building of immense height that stood on the highest hill. One evening, he saw a flickering light from the top of the tower. He rushed up the winding stairs, his heart pounding. The village's most valuable possession, the Golden Locket of Harmony, was gone from its display case. It was said to weigh more than a man's pride. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he caught a young man named Leo leaving the tower. Leo was a kind soul who had recently bought a new wool coat, which seemed a strange purchase in such warm weather. The villagers quickly gathered, their anger hot. They were ready to fight him for what they believed he had done. He must have fought his way in, one person shouted, and he's strong. But Arthur stepped forward. Stop! He commanded. Leo would not steal from us. He looked at the young man, whose face was pale. Arthur noticed something else. The weight of the golden locket was too great for one man to carry while escaping from a high tower. It would be impossible. He then turned to the village head guard, a man named Thomas, who had just arrived. You were meant to be on duty, Arthur said quietly. Where were you? Thomas stammered, I was. Fought with the thief, but he got away. Arthur smiled gently. There was no fight. I saw the locket's case. It was opened with a key, not forced. And this young man's new coat is not to keep him warm, but to hide the true culprit. He pointed to Thomas. Leo bought his coat today, but it's not for him. He bought it for the head guard's twin brother, who I saw running away tonight. The coat was a gift, a thank you for a planned robbery. The brother had the key. The real thief is the one who wanted to make it look like a fight. Thomas's face went white. The stolen locket, which had been hidden beneath a loose cobblestone nearby, was found. The next day, the drought ended and rain poured down, washing away the dust and marking a fresh start for the village. Arthur was celebrated as a hero, not for his strength, but for his wisdom and sharp eyes. Vocabulary notes. Drought. Definition: a long period of time when there is very little or no rain. Example: a long drought had made the fields dry and the mood of the villagers low. Similar words: dry spell, arid period. Immense. Definition: extremely large or great, especially in size or degree. Example: to building of immense height that stood on the highest hill. Similar words: huge, enormous, vast, colossal, massive. Stammered. Definition: to speak with sudden, involuntary pauses and a tendency to repeat the initial parts of words, often because of nervousness or difficulty in finding the right words. Example: Thomas stammered, I was. Fought with the thief, but he got away. Similar words: stuttered, faltered, hesitated. Culprit. Definition: a person who is responsible for a crime or other misdeed. Example: but to hide the true culprit. Similar words: offender, wrongdo, perpetrator, lawbreaker. Cobblestone. Definition: a rounded stone used for paving a street or path. Example: the stolen locket, which had been hidden beneath a loose cobblestone nearby, was found. Similar words: paving stone, set, paver. Story written by Gemini Pro AI. Image created by Imagio AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
All right, so for today's explainer, we're going to be linguistic detectives. Our mission, if you choose to accept it, is to hunt down this phantom sound, this ghost in our vocabulary that shows up in writing but just vanishes when we actually speak. Yeah, we're cracking the case of this silent GH. I mean, it's a great question, right? Think about it. Words like night, through, or daughter. You've got that G and that H just sitting there, silently. Is it a mistake? Some kind of ancient typo that just stuck around for centuries? Or maybe, is there a deeper story going on? To crack this case, we're actually going to look at just one piece of evidence. A little short story called The Watchman's Honor. And believe it or not, hidden inside this story are all the clues we're going to need to solve this entire linguistic mystery. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture a village that's totally on edge because of this long, painful drought. Our hero is this guy Arthur, a watchman who guards a clock tower of immense height. And when I say immense, I mean this thing is absolutely colossal. It's the biggest thing around, and it holds the village's greatest treasure. Yeah, immense is the perfect word. This tower is pretty much the heart of the village. It's a symbol of their history, their pride, which makes what happens next a really, really big deal. And here's where the plot thickens. One night, under a really bright moon, Arthur spots a flickering light up in the tower. He books it up there and finds that the village's most precious item, the Golden Locket, is just gone. Now, wait a second. Did you catch that? Night? Let's file that away. That's our first clue. And you have to remember, this drought isn't just, bad weather. It's a full-blown crisis. People are cranky, they're suspicious of each other, and that's really setting the stage for what's about to go down. So Arthur races down the stairs. And who does he find trying to sneak away? A young man named Leo. The villagers, they see this, and they immediately jump to conclusions. Their tempers are already shot because of the drought, and they are ready to fight. And there's our second clue word, fight. The crowd is yelling, pointing fingers, and someone screams, he must have fought his way in. Fought. Okay, that's two. We are definitely keeping a file on these GH words now. But Arthur, he's the wise old watchman, right? He tells everyone to calm down. He's using logic. He knows that the Golden Locket has an immense weight. It is way too heavy for just one person to carry off in a hurry. And there it is, our fourth clue, weight. So let's step back for a second and look at our evidence board. We've collected night, bright, fought, and weight. You see the pattern, right? They all have that same silent GH just hanging out in the middle. The evidence is definitely piling up. It's that phantom sound we're hunting. It's written down plain as day, but you don't hear it. So, to figure out why it's there, we gotta get some more evidence. Let's go back to the story and our suspects. So here's our lineup. On one hand, you've got Leo, the kid who was just sort of there. Seems like a classic wrong place, wrong time situation. But then you have Thomas. He's the head guard. The one guy who was supposed to be on duty when the locket was stolen, but mysteriously wasn't. So Arthur goes to confront Thomas. And Thomas's story is that he fought with the real thief. Yep, there's that word again, but he was overpowered. But its story is super weak, and the way he tells it is even weaker. He actually stammered the whole time he was making his excuse. I mean, come on. Stammering while you're describing a heroic fight? That is a massive red flag. Thomas is so obviously hiding something. And this is where Arthur just blows the whole case wide open. It's amazing. He lays it all out. 1, the display case wasn't smashed, it was unlocked with a key. 2, that new coat Leo was carrying, it wasn't his, it was a gift. 3, it was a thank you gift for Thomas's twin brother. Which leads to 4, the brother was the accomplice. The whole thing was an inside job. And just like that, Arthur cracks the case. His logic revealed the truth. And now we can use that same kind of thinking to solve our own mystery. Because here's the big secret. The silent GH is not a mistake. It's something called a linguistic fossil. So what on earth is a linguistic fossil? Well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a piece of history that's been preserved inside our language. See, centuries ago in Old English, the GH in words like night wasn't silent at all. It was this hard, throaty sound from the back of your throat, kind of like the chi in the Scottish word lock. Over time, the way we speak softened, and the sound just faded away. But the spelling? The spelling got fossilized. It got stuck. So, with our linguistic logic revealed, let's jump back to the story's logic. Thomas, the head guard, the very man who should have been protecting the locket, is exposed as the real mastermind. He's the true culprit.
Yep, Thomas, the one person responsible for a crime that turned his entire village upside down.
And the story wraps up perfectly. The locket is found right where Thomas's brother hid it, under a loose cobblestone in the street. And then, almost like magic, the clouds break, the rain starts to fall, and the drought ends. The whole village gets a fresh start. Pretty wild, right? A grand theft that threw a village into chaos, all hidden away under one simple cobblestone. And our hero, Arthur, he finally gets the credit he deserves. The story ends by saying he was celebrated, not for his strength, but for his wisdom and his sharp eyes. He didn't have to fight the culprit, he just had to outthink him. And that brings us right back to our own conclusion. The silent G is a lot like Arthur's wisdom. It's not about being loud and obvious. It's a quiet clue. It isn't an error. It's the ghost of a sound from the past, telling us a story about how our language used to be spoken. It really just goes to show you that the words we use every single day are like little archaeological sites, just packed with history. So the next time you see a silent letter, don't just dismiss it. Ask yourself, what story is it trying to tell? What other ghosts are hiding in the words we use every day?